Think about something that you're very knowledgeable of, whether it's related to history, science, or even sex. You know this topic forward, backwards, and even sideways. Personally, I've always had a fascination with biological science and have a surprising knowledge of human bodily functions and illnesses. But as much as I know about the evolution and origin of the human eye, it may be pretty difficult to explain it in a way that an audience might find interesting. Hi, I'm Whitney, and I know how hard it is to give a speech that deals with a lot of important and sometimes technical information that could confuse and, quite frankly, bore your audience. But the key to spicing things up a bit and keeping your audience interested involves capturing their attention at the very beginning, utilizing a few unconventional speaking tools to explain some of the more technical information in your speech, and demonstrating both verbal and nonverbal behavior in your presentation. Now, first things first, be aware of the type of audience that you're presenting to. The way you introduce yourself and your presentation will vary depending on the people who are listening. An audience of teenagers at a local high school will need to receive your information a little differently than a group of board members at a prestigious ad agency, for instance. Once you have that in mind, you need to begin your speech with something that will grab their attention from the very start. According to the book Power Learning Success Strategies for College and Life, it's necessary to capture your audience's attention and arouse their interest within the first few minutes of your presentation. If you allow their attention to drift off early on, you may have potentially lost them for good. Try starting with a clever anecdote. For instance, it all began as one seemingly innocent accident that would spawn a series of unlikely events. Perhaps a powerful quote that relates to the material you intend to present. Ask a question to help getting your audience involved, like, has anyone ever had a passion for sports cars? Even try to arouse the audience curiosity in you as a presenter by saying something like, I have a secret, one that I've kept hidden for many years until now. The website eHow, How to Give a Perfect Graduation Speech, states that it's important to avoid lecturing even when you intend to teach something to your audience. It's not uncommon to briefly lose your audience when you try to introduce something really important, but you only have a small window to continually try to recapture them. Though a great way to bring your audience into your presentation is by utilizing some unconventional speaking tools. Power Learning insists that you be able to engage your audience by making use of charts, graphs, drawings, and illustrations. Microsoft PowerPoint is the perfect platform for presenting these tools in an organized manner. Just be sure to credit all the resources you use to avoid plagiarism. The book also encourages props, for instance. If you were giving a speech about the Supreme Court rulings, it could be appropriate to use a gavel in your presentation. Visual aids can help round off some of the more abstract concepts in your speech for your more visual, nonverbal learners in the audience. About.com says another way to integrate an interesting speaking tool is by using music. Playing music in the background helps to round off the tone of your speech, even when very substantial information is being used. The Scholastic website encourages the use of colorful language. In Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, he uses 4 score and 7 years ago. Sure, he could have just said 87 years ago, but 4 score has a more poetic sound that will capture your listener's attention. The use of unconventional tools is similar to a marketing strategy called guerrilla marketing. In the textbook Contemporary Business 2006, they highlight the effectiveness of using young, attractive women in swimsuits to promote Old Spice. These women would patrol the beaches of Florida handing out samples of the Old Spice to men on the beach. It wasn't necessarily the content, but rather the presentation that got the audience attention. Also, be aware of your verbal and nonverbal behavior. It can make the difference between an audience who is attentive and one that is uninterested. Writing a speech isn't like writing an essay or reading a book. Power learning emphasizes the need for oral transitional markers so that your listeners can tell when you're about to introduce a new point or concept in your presentation. Otherwise, you could find your audience getting lost and confused as you move from concept to concept. Your body language is also very important. An audience will be able to tell if their presenter is uncomfortable, and in turn, they themselves will be just as uncomfortable for you. Avoid nervous behavior, like shaky hands, by folding them in front of you and maintaining eye contact with the members of your audience. Power Learning insists that eye contact will engage your audience members and make them feel like they are being directed personally. So by this time, you should already be pretty comfortable with your topic and even devised a way to liven up your presentation using PowerPoint with photos and music. Your audience has a much better chance of staying focused and understanding your content if you grab their attention from the very beginning, integrate visual aids like props, and maintain eye contact with your audience. You may know the information in your speech is very important, but it's your job as an orator to make sure your audience comes away thinking the same thing. Happy writing!